Hi, this is Paul from Outerloop Coaching and OuterloopCoaching.com. I'm with you this week with a great example of a bio that really works well. So what I want to talk about are the first paragraph or two of your bio, but I've got a great example so that you can use it as a way to make your bio even better. Remember, the bio is the piece that you send out or that is read by media, is read by industry, is even sometimes read by fans. It's the basis of stories that are going to be written about you, the reviews that might be made of your music. It's also used as a way to decide whether someone's interested or not in what you do and what you sound like. So you need a really good bio, especially the first few sentences, to be really effective. Now, talking about bio is among our most popular videos, so that's why I keep on coming back to this topic. It is really, really important as you are trying to get media attention for your music and you're trying to get people interested enough to listen to your music that you get your bio right. This is an example of a bio that does it really, really well. It's a band called Alive in Barcelona, aliveinbarcelona.com. Visit their website and check out their music, especially as you hear about them for the first time perhaps, and you go, wow, that sounds really interesting. I got to hear that. That means that their bio is really effective. So let's go line by line, almost word by word through this, okay? Hard rock band Alive in Barcelona has ignited the airwaves with their explosive new self-titled album. Then it's a comma. So let's go through this real quickly. First of all, I love the action words that happen in this first sentence, right? Hard rock band, it's relatively generic, but it's certainly not a descriptor. Nobody really takes it as a descriptor, but it gives you a real broad idea of what the band sounds like. It'll let you know whether it's something that you're going to be interested in or not. If you're a classical music fan, as soon as you read hard rock band, you know, well, if I'm not into hard rock music in addition to classical, it's not for me. So it's a really good way to quickly get the readers who are going to be interested in keeping on reading in, and those who are not, get them out. Stop wasting their time. So you can use that or something similar to it as a technique, a real broad description to try to let people in when they know they are in the right room just in the first three words, which is really effective. So a hard rock band Alive in Barcelona, you got to get the name of the band in there super fast because that's part of your hook. It's part of what sets you apart. Obviously, it is you. You need to put the band name in there. Has ignited the airwaves. And this is where I really start getting excited. Now, when you hear the term ignited the airwaves, right? It's action. It's awesome. It's powerful. It sounds like excitement. It sounds like things are happening. And when you hear ignited the airwaves, first of all, you get a picture in your mind of like, I don't know, the air catching fire. That's kind of cool. But beyond that, the airwaves, it's like airwaves are associated with radio. So now you kind of go, wow, there's something happening for these guys on radio, but they've done it in a really, really clever way. By saying that, by using airwaves and suggesting there's something happening on radio, it's specific enough that you kind of go, well, I got to read more because I got to find out what's happening for these guys on radio. Pretty cool. Alive in Barcelona has ignited the airwaves with their explosive new self-titled album. I love this. So many people, when they're writing bio for their own music, they get a little humble, they get a little shy, they, have a real hard time with trying to spark excitement in the people who are reading about them. You have to get over yourself. Stop being humble unless that is your brand and that's the whole thing. You're like an Elliott Smith-like character. Even then, there's better ways to do it than to, just say, hey, you might want to check us out because we're okay. I love this because they're saying the airwaves ignited the airwaves with their explosive new self-titled album. I love that. It's awesome, again, powerful and exciting. You can feel your blood going as soon as you read it, right? Because you're like, what, something's happening with this band. It's something powerful and something really fun. And so you're going to want to keep on reading. All right. So, now this is the next part, right? So we got through that. Hard rock band alive in Barcelona has ignited the airwaves with their explosive new self-titled album, which debuted at number 6 on Billboard Heatseekers, number 35 in rock, and number 76 on Media Base Active Rock. Wow. This is a really cool technique in specificity, right? Specificity is that idea of getting really, really granular and detailed in something. And when you get that kind of granularity and you get that, it lets people know that you're telling a truth and that it's irrefutable, right? And so when they say we're number 6 here, we're number 35 in this other place, and number 76 in this third place, even if you're not familiar with these charts, it sounds really cool and it sounds really good. And if you are familiar with Billboard's Heatseekers, and you know that this is not an easy chart to get on. And it is very validating. It's letting the reader know, hey, it's not just us who think that we're cool. Like Billboard thinks we're cool. Tons of people think we're cool. How in the world do you think we got to these charts unless we were really cool? This is sort of that idea of, there's a great TED Talk from a few years ago. I'll put the link down in the description, talking about the idea of how do you start a movement, right? The movement doesn't start with you. It starts with your first follower, the first person who believes in you. And then as the third and fourth and fifth people come on, then lots of people start to jump in because they see that something is happening. It's really exciting. I highly recommend you checking out this very brief video by Derek Sievers on how to start a movement. Again, I'll put the link down below in the description. I might even have it over my head. And that is exactly what's happening here in this part of the bio by saying number 6 on Billboard Heatseekers, number 35 in rock, number 76 on Media Base Active Rock charts. By saying and putting that all there, it's letting the reader know there is a movement happening here and you've got to get on board or you are going to miss it. Even if you're not going to jump on board with this movement, you had better know that it's happening, right? You're going to want to read more. And so if you have anything that has that kind of specificity, if you are just starting out, one of your goals is working hard towards these kinds of numbers, these kinds of things that you can put out there. And it doesn't need to be just chart positions. It could be the number of followers you add on Spotify over a certain period, or the number of streams you get on Spotify over a certain period, the number of specific sales that you made on your album on day 1, you can also do really cool things where you go like saying things like on the 5th date of our tour, sold out blah 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 the venue in such and such a city. It's real specific, and then after that, on top of it, it's like the 5th date of the tour. Why is the 5th date of the tour really, why being specific there? It grabs people's interest. They want to learn more and find out why you're talking about that in particular, which is really, really powerful and really, really cool. All right. So again, let me read this whole first paragraph. This is the kind of paragraph that you want for your bio. Feel free to try to mimic this if you have different data points, as long as you're telling the truth. That's really good to do. Maybe you're a hard rock band and, you can just take this right. It's okay. Someone 6 months from now is not going to read your bio and go, wow, this sounds just like the bio I read about Alive in Barcelona. It's not going to happen, right? But try to you are a creative person. Try to be creative and try to do your own thing. So that way it is actually you and you're not describing a different band than you. When you start doing that sort of thing, it will come through very, very quickly almost like telepathically it comes through and people know that you're not being honest with them. So be original, but feel free to use this as a bit of a template to get going. So again, first paragraph, hard rock band alive in Barcelona has ignited the airwaves with their explosive new self-titled album, which debuted at number 6 on Billboard Heatseekers, number 35 in rock, and number 76 on media-based active rock charts. You hear that and you go, I got to find out about these guys, right? I got to keep on reading. And this is one of those things that a bio is not unlike a single. It's not unlike your first song that you're trying to get people to listen to. It used to be that you could get somebody to listen to a full minute before they go, not interested, right? But nowadays, you're lucky if you can get 15 seconds of somebody's attention on a band or a song that they've never heard before they go, not interested. So you've got to get to that hook. You got to get their interest right away. Feel free, if you're a progressive folk act and you're not going to get to the hook till minute 4, that's fine for most of your stuff. But if you want to try to get somebody's attention, whether it's industry, media, or even just fans, go for it in 15 seconds or less. 60 seconds is a lifetime. So if you have to wait until second 44, 45, 50, 55, so be it. But if you can, get that hook in the first 15 seconds. And the same thing with your bio. In that first sentence, in the first few words, you've got to hook them in. And Alive in Barcelona do it here with their bio. So let's move to second paragraph, right? The 5-piece from the Pacific Northwest has been to hell and back, suffering losses both personal and public. What? That is... I mean, I know it's sad to read that. They've gone through something amazing, right? But like, as soon as you hear that, you're like, I got to hear more. What did they go through? Been to hell and back? Now, I've talked before about how I'm not a fan of cliches, but when you hear to hell and back, right, it tells you something like that even within the cliche and using the cliche, it still is telling you something about their journey. And it's a story. There's a story in there, and you cannot hear that. You can't hear somebody tell you that and not go, all right, I'm listening. What happened then? Right? This is super powerful stuff. Really, really good. The 5-piece from the Pacific Northwest has been to hell and back. Now, I like the way that, you're putting in little things that people kind of need to know, right? The 5-piece, it's a 5-piece band. Okay. Not vital, but it's kind of good to know. From the Pacific Northwest, that kind of works, kind of gives people a little sense of things. Feel free to put those things in there. It's not super crucial, but you're giving just enough about you and the band is really, really helpful in sort of letting everybody know, hey, you're reading a bio here. So the 5-piece from the Pacific Northwest, not to mention, if the reader is also from the Pacific Northwest, it's like, okay, yeah, I got to keep on reading. They're my people. The 5-piece from the Pacific Northwest has been to hell and back, suffering losses, both personal and public. Oh man, suffering loss. What has happened with this band? And what's personal things and public things? I mean, this is really awesome stuff. If you don't know your story, and by story, I mean the thing that is the story about you, the story about your music, the story about your band that will draw people in and will compel them to want to know more about you. If you haven't figured that out, then please sit down and try to think about what it is about you and your band that is amazingly interesting. I promise you it exists. I know you're thinking, well, I don't know. We work 9 to 5 and then we get together 2 nights a week and we rehearse, and then every other Saturday we'll play a gig, and sometimes we go out of town. No, like, what is it about you that you're willing to share that is going to bring people in and want to listen? What informs your music, right? If you're a party band and all you do is love to sing songs about how you want to party, that's a story. Now, try to find a way to tell that story in your bio or hint at that story at this point of your bio, because it informs your music, which is going to be what really brings people in and wanting to listen to your music. So yeah, like maybe you've suffered losses in your life, right? But maybe you don't want to share that. That's okay. Keep that to yourself. You're allowed privacy, but find the little nuggets about you and that you are already making public by putting it into your performances, putting it into your words, putting it into your songs, into your lyrics, right? What are the stories that you are telling, and what are the things about you that have inspired those stories? That's really important. So they've been to hell and back, suffering losses, both personal and public. Persevering through the loss of Jesse's father, alive in Barcelona, has set out to seek the lost, the broken, and the hurting. Whoa, this is really cool, right? Let me talk about why. And actually, let me talk about why all this story part is even that much more important when it comes to media, right? So when Alive in Barcelona talk about how they're suffering losses, but they have suffered losses both personal and public, right? Now, industry people read that and go, wow, this is really interesting. But it's not going to make a difference between whether a label says we're interested in signing you or not, or a booking agent, whether they're going to book the gig or not. It's not for them, right? It's for the other two audiences. It's for potential fans. I'm going to talk about that more in just a minute. But it's also about media. Media reads a bio, and what they want is they want to know what is the story that they can tell with you. What's the story that they can put on their blog, in their magazine, wherever it is, even tell it on the radio or tell it on their podcast. What's the story that when they get to interview you, they get to ask you questions about, and their readers, their listeners are going to eat it up. Because it's new, it's interesting, and it's somebody sharing something that a lot of people don't want to share or can't share or don't share. And these guys are doing it, right? Alive in Barcelona are doing it. They're in a unique position to do it. And what they're doing is they're saying to media, there's a story here with our band, and your readers are going to want to hear it. And it's making it really easy for the media to be able to turn them on and give them the ideas. Don't think that when you hand a dry, boring bio over to the media that they're going to somehow figure out what it is that is interesting about you, and they're going to creatively come up with it, and then that's the kind of questions they're going to ask you. It's not going to happen. Like, they won't even ask you any questions. They're not going to write about you. But if you give them a really interesting story that's a frame, that is a frame for your music, your single, your song, whatever it is that they're talking about, that you're promoting, right? Or your live appearances. If there's a frame that they can put that in, and you build it for them and you hand it to them ready-made. All they got to do is ask an interesting question about that. You've handed them a boatload of questions. That is super powerful and it's super effective. You got to do it. When you see interviews, especially with bands that are either famous or almost famous and the questions are boring, sometimes it's because, you know what? They're boring people asking the questions. They don't care about the answers. They don't care about the musicians. But when you see it over and over and over again, I believe that it's often because of the bio. The bio isn't giving the journalist, isn't giving the reporter, the interviewer, something that they can kind of latch onto and really dig into that their readers and listeners will actually want to hear about. So give that to them. That's one of the more effective things about your bio. So returning to that second sentence now of the second paragraph, persevering through the loss of Jesse's father, alive in Barcelona, has set out to seek the lost, the broken, and the hurting. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure that I've ever read a sentence like that in a bio before, and I am in love. And let me tell you why. This sentence is built for one reason. It is for potential fans. And sometimes media is going to be able to convey that to the fans. Sometimes people in the industry, if they choose to work with you, if they work with Alive in Barcelona, they're going to utilize this sentence to be able to connect with fans. But mostly it's all about connecting with fans directly. Because if you feel lost, if you feel hurt, you feel broken, how do you not read that sentence and think, I got to hear this music because it is made for me? And add to it, who among us doesn't feel hurt and broken and lost? Like, these are features all of us at one time or another, and sometimes all the time. We can relate to that. And this is so powerful. It's one of the things that makes art so effective, is when art can communicate to people who no longer want to feel alone. And music is really powerful at doing this. And what Alive in Barcelona does by putting this right at the beginning of their bio, it's an invitation to people to join them in a journey that so many other people don't even want to talk about. To join them in a journey because we're all going through the same thing. And think about the lives that can save, right? Think about the number of people who do feel lost, broken, and hurting, and never find someone or something to connect with. When that doesn't happen, that usually ends up in tragedy. So when Alive in Barcelona take a huge risk of being ridiculed and everything else, to be able to say, hey, we are among you. We're going through these things, and we're going to tell you explicitly what we're going through. People will relate to that, and it will save lives. I love this. And, look, whatever it is that you have in your story, there are other people who are going through the same things. It might be the opposite. It might be just unadulterated joy, like 100% all the time, always happy. Maybe that's your story, and maybe that's the story that you tell with your music, and that's what you want to convey, and those are the people you want to communicate with and you want to bond with. Good, because I'll tell you what, even people who are feeling that often feel alone. And your art, your music is going to be what they go to because they feel drawn to it. So think about who it is who's going to love you and love your music, what it is about you that you share with them. Make that part of your story. Make that part of your bio. So again, this is a really, really top of the food chain bio. I read this earlier today and said, I got to do a video about this. I have to share this. Not only am I a fan of the band, Alive in Barcelona, great band. If I haven't already, a link up over my head. It's certainly down in the description. Go check them out. Go watch their videos, especially if you've heard these words and you go, yeah, I have to know who these people are. I have to know what this sounds like. That is the result of a super effective bio. So do that for yourself. And again, no replication, be creative and unique, but figure out what your story is, figure out what your hook is, and get it in quickly and pull people into what you do. Media, industry, potential fans. All right, so this is Paul from Outerloop Coaching. I'm going to put the bio down in the description, by the way, so that you can read it word for word. But this is Paul from Outerloop Coaching, and I'll see you in the next video.